the Rangers Journal Night.
Good evening, folks, and as you all know by now, every night is the Rangers Journal Night, and tonight is no different. I'm delighted to be joined by three members of the Rangers Journal family. We've got Ross, Dylan, and Stephen. I think this is our first time on together, guys. So how are you doing tonight, Dylan?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Looking forward to getting a chat about last night's game, and looking forward to having a wee chat about the weekend as well. So it's all going in Rangers camp.
It's all go. Plenty for us to talk about, which is good news. Ross, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Very happy with the result last night. I didn't expect it after the first half. I was quite nervous. But we got the result. That's the main thing.
It was a bit of a grueling watch.
Yeah. It was a tough watch. And Stephen, hopefully you can hear us, and can we hear you now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes. We had teething problems before we came on, but great to have you, Stephen. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I just gave the laptop a couple of slaps and we're all good.
Terrible
really
way to talk about the missus, Stevie.
Like everybody, a bit through the ringer last night, but we got the job done. So yeah, very happy with the outcome. Looking forward to tonight.
Excellent. So without further ado, we'll get into it then. So as we all know, we've overcome Panathinaikos over two legs, going through by 3-1 after a 1-1 draw over in Athens last night. Probably doesn't tell the full story, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But it does mean we are through, which is fantastic news, and we'll now play Victoria Pilsen from the Czech Republic. So the Czechs will head to Ibrox next Tuesday, the 5th of August, with Rangers heading back over there on Tuesday, the 12th of August. So big ties to look forward to. And of course, we've got a league opener this weekend, so plenty for us to talk about. So I'll maybe start with yourself, Dylan. Obviously, there's been a lot of negativity about how grueling a watch it was, and there was certainly spells over the two ties, and particularly last night, probably, that were tough to watch. But I want to start, focusing on the positives, because we're through. It was a huge obstacle overcome, huge boost for Russell Martin and staff. What were the biggest positives that you took from the tie, other than obviously getting through?
I think the sort of resilience and the hard work, determination that we showed, and I know it probably didn't really look like it on the telly sometimes, but when you're talking about the high 30s and the boys putting that sort of shift without the ball, it's difficult. It's really difficult, especially to stay mentally switched on. So I give them a lot of credit for that. Now I know there was moments where they looked like they could go or they were going to score, but again I thought Butland stood up to every sort of chance. It was unlucky with the goal that went in, to be fair. And I thought that the back four, Giga especially, grew into the game, handled it well enough. So it was a tough night, a lot on the line, and maybe sometimes back in the past you would see a Rangers team crumble then, especially when they go 1-0 down, and especially last year when we went 1 or 2-0 down at the start of every game. So I think that's the sort of positive I take from it, apart from obviously the going through, just the resilience that we showed to get back into it and going. As soon as we conceded, we didn't let it get to us, didn't let our heads go down, just right up the park, scored a goal, and then right back in tie, and that deflated Panathinaikos, I think. So that's probably the only positives, to be honest with you, I took to it. I don't want to keep it positive, but that's probably the only positive.
I'm trying to start us off on a positive note, because we are through, but I think you certainly have touched on some of them there, and Butland was excellent over the two legs. Stephen, let me come to you. Dylan's touched on a few of the positives that he thought came out of the tie and out of last night, the second leg in particular. What was your general feeling after last night, apart from relief?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were definitely relieved. It was a great outcome, getting through, guaranteed European football beyond Christmas now with Europa, no matter what happens. So delighted with that. But Dylan's touched on a few things. Like Jack Butland, he's really impressed. I think all of us had our doubts, but he's really turned it around as far as I'm concerned. Delighted for him, because his alternative was, going to a club like Burnley or wherever. But he's like, I want to stay and I want to fight and I want to be Rangers number one. which is great as far as I'm concerned. That's fantastic. Dylan's kind of surmised it quite well, but something I felt was the conditioning of the players. This is 5 weeks into the season, pre-season's still basically ongoing, and the players were absolutely at it for the full 108. I know it was easier at Ibrox, but last night in particular, like Dylan's mentioned there, the heat and the conditions, that's so hard to play in. And the players, they kept going, they ran themselves into the ground, they got through it. So really impressed with that. Maybe in other times, like we might have just crumbled, we might have just fell away, but they kept going, losing the goal, and they showed real resilience. They all seem to be pulling in the same direction. I think there's definitely a team spirit getting garnered there. And see, to be honest, if I can get something off my chest, see this negativity that I've read since like half time last night. I went on the Rangers Facebook page and some guy was on there saying, if we keep playing like this, we're going to lose 9 points to Falkirk. I'm sitting there reading that, I'm thinking, we're 2-0 up, 3/4 of the way through a European tie in the Champions League, and this guy's going on like that. It's like so negative. It actually does my head in. Some of our fans are just beyond nauseating when it comes to negativity. It's like, come on, look where we are. He's had 5 weeks in charge of this team. It's a new system, new manager, new pretty much everything, and they're still developing. So give them a break. It's a really high pressure match, and they've got through it. They've navigated away. To me, it's really positive how they've performed. But yeah, overall, last night, the conditioning of the players, to answer your question, I was really impressed with the fitness. That's something else we've maybe lacked in the last few years.
Yeah, I have to say, Stephen, I share a lot of the sentiments you've mentioned there. There has been a lot of negativity. Is it perfect? By no means, but we're only 5 weeks into this project, and I think we've got to give it time. So there's plenty of positives to take from it, and when we win and we're not at our best, it can only be a good thing. So, Ross, coming to yourself, what were your general thoughts on the game last night before we go into the details?
Yeah, as other two gents said, it was a very sticky first half, but we'll get there with the tactics as well. Hopefully, it will gel. It's new tactics, new team. Very impressive teacher. Hopefully, things will progress. But as before, some of our fans are so toxic. We can win 1-3 at half time, and some fans will still complain. It's sometimes hard to be a Rangers fan, but you follow through the bad and the good times, But as I said, hopefully that's us starting the season now. Got any issues? Roll on Saturday.
Absolutely, and like I say, it's a huge boost because I think you've a couple of you mentioned that we're guaranteed league phase football in Europe this season, which is fantastic. So let's get into the detail of it now. Coming back to yourself, Dylan. We've also started on the positives. It is quite clear, though, quite slow in starting games. When you look back over the last couple of weeks, obviously Club Brugge, we were 2-0 down in that friendly at half time. Obviously just a friendly. Same against Middlesbrough, we had a goal down. Pretty poor first half. And you'd probably argue the two legs against Panathinaikos, we certainly weren't at our best in the first half. Certainly the leg at Ibrox, the home leg, we were much better in the second half. So I suppose my question is, why do you think we're taking so long to really get going in games? Or is it just because we're so early in this process?
I think it's a little bit of, obviously the new managers just come in 5 weeks or so. Players are some of them come back even less than that. So it's learning a new system. It's asking players to do things that they haven't been used to doing. Ask them to pull into positions that they're not really used to playing in. I think also when you look at John Souttar, Max Arns, Nico Raskin, Finlay Curtis are all right-footed, all playing the left-hand side of the park. So again, it's shunting their ability because they're having to try and go on their weaker foot, and some of them, like Aaron's, really isn't comfortable with it. Souttar really isn't comfortable with it. So it kind of shuts off that side of the park, which then I think struggles for the sort of rest of them to build out. So I think there's a couple of things there that I pick up on, and we're going to do a breakdown, tactics breakdown on it, me, Dave and Ross. So tune in for that, guys. And it'll be more in depth. There'll be slides and stuff like that, and we'll go into it in more depth. But I think it's just Nico Raskin has to be played a bit higher on the left. I don't think that's his position. Finlay Curtis is really wide with a man on him. Can he do more? So I think there's just teasing issues about learning the system, and also square players in round holes, square pegs in round holes, as they say. So I think it's a wee bit of both. But listen, it'll come. And if we get other players in, obviously Asgard can play. We've not seen him yet. If he gets another left back in, there's another centre half in, then things start to change. So I think it's a wee bit of both, mate, to be honest with you.
Yep. Stephen, would you go along with that in terms of do you think the chances that we're giving other teams, is it a result of the structure and this new philosophy, or are you just putting it down to maybe individual mistakes and decision making so far?
Yeah, I think it's definitely down to the fact that it's the new system and they're still trying to adapt and develop. Definitely new players takes time to sell, and as Dylan's quite comprehensively covered there, the fact that we've got quite an imbalance with the lack of kind of left-footed players, that is definitely having a big impact on it. But at the same time, they've ground it out. I mean, it's Panathinaikos are no mugs, and they've managed to get through it. I thought a couple of times last night the kind of slower pace was kind of taking the sting out of the game, and then maybe there was like an odd wee mistake here and there, and the pressure came back on. But you see what he's trying to do. Like, for how many pods we've done on here, when we've absolutely like been like arguing or whatever about not having a clear method of playing. You know, we've got that now. This manager knows exactly the way he wants to play. It's like we've been demanding this for so long, and now we've got it, or we're trying to get it. So we need to all be a wee bit more patient and just accept the fact that, you know, we're probably going to have a heart attack every other game. You know, it's the style of play, that's what's going to happen. But in Scotland, it's going to be I think it's going to be more intense, a lot of attack, a lot of possession. So it's going to come. You know, he's determined with and he's very kind of single-minded. So I think the more obviously he coaches him, the easier it'll become. And the fact that we've got so many games coming so quickly, it's like a game every 3 days just now, I think that'll benefit. You know, there's no real substitute for playing actual competitive games. So, you know, it might be a bit scary, but bring it on. I think it will improve quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross, the two boys there have mentioned the kind of imbalance on, particularly on the left-hand side of the team, where you've got Max Ahrens, you've got Nico Raskin. You know, they're right-footed players. Finlay Curtis, they're all right-footed players, so it is making it a bit awkward at times. And then you've got Diomande, who's predominantly a left-footer, playing on the right-hand side. What have you made of that so far?
I feel good that the players are doing their best in that position. I can imagine it's a wee bit awkward for the players as well, but going back to the first leg of the Panathinaikos game, I've seen the defenders kind of coming in towards the ball, so I don't know if that's kind of what Martin wants. He wants them on the left, back on the right, to go back at the right-hand side, and then it works for those players. So it is early days, but hopefully, as I said before, it works, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, I think some of the guys in the comments have certainly got our message. There's quite a few positive comments coming through about performance and where we're headed. So we'll keep beating the drum for that. So on that positive note, back to yourself, Dylan. Is it too early for us to say that Jack Butland's back to his best and that we don't need to sign another goalkeeper? Is it too soon to say, or are you all on board?
Good question, Colin. I think it's too early. I would like to see what happens when that first setback occurs, then see how he bounces back from then, because that's his problem initially. When he first came in, he looked like he does just now, really comfortable. I'll tell you what, I didn't think he had it in him to be as comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he surprised me that way. So that's a massive plus. But I think wait till that first spill happens or that first mistake happens, and listen, he could have maybe got his head down last night after that goal that they scored, and he never, because he could have got to it, moved his feet a little bit quicker, but he never. He kept going. So I'd like to see him, but when the sort of pressure's on, and if he can get himself out of that rut, then yeah, I'm happy with him being the number one. However, if the form starts to dip after the mistake and he gets into his own head again, then you'd be as well as just throwing goals in.
Yeah, you touched on that. I mean, obviously we know his reflexes. He made 3 top saves in the first leg. He had a couple of early ones last night. But I think, like you say, I'll come to yourself, Stephen. It was his distribution over the 2 legs. I genuinely didn't know he had it in him. I mean, certainly last season, some of his clearances were it was bomb scare type stuff. I mean, we were putting ourselves in big trouble. whereas he looks much more composed, much more confident. Would you go along with that, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's kind of said as much in interviews. You know, he's really worked both physically and like mentally. Like he's really tried to put himself back together, and it's shown. Dylan, the prophet of doom, they're waiting for him to make a mistake, but let's hope that doesn't happen. He just had a perfect season. But I get what Dylan means. You know, that's his real test. When that moment happens, how do they recover for it? And then hopefully the work he's put in will help him going forward, because he's definitely, you know, he's looking almost back to like the guy that we signed, because when he came in the first 6 months, we were like, wow, this guy's a good replacement for McGregor, and it was going to be difficult to get a goalkeeper of that standard. But he's played for England, and no player that plays for England, and especially in goal, it's a difficult position to get into, is a bad player. So I think a fair bit of it is down to confidence, and the fact that he's looking around the dressing room and he's seeing these quality signings coming in, that can only help him feel better. You know, he'll be more confident. Really good pairing, it looks like, in front of him with Big Nasser and Suter. So yeah, there's plenty for everybody, especially Jack, to be confident about going forward. He's not quite Super Jack again, but he's almost Super Jack Butland.
I heard him getting a song sang in the stands again last night, so maybe it's going to build his confidence even further. So touching the goalie, Ross, let's head one unit further forward into the defence then. Thought Gia and Suter were relatively good. I mean, there was a couple of scary moments in possession, but that seems to be, it's going to be a common theme. We'll leave Tav just now, but I want to focus on Max Aarons, our left back, because there's quite a few comments in already about Max Aarons moving across to right back. We've obviously been linked, I think, for the first time. I can't remember too many links. Maybe Owen Beck early in the summer. We've been linked with another left back this afternoon, Kassam Ouattara from Monaco. Are you one of those supporters who firmly thinks we need to get a brand new left back in the door?
Yes. Anytime Aaron's got the ball on the left, you didn't know what he was going to do. Just you seen him going over to the right hand side further on the game. He just got so much more comfortable. You know, I know he's played on the left before, but I just feel like right hand side, as a lot of the comments said, that's his position. That's where he's comfortable playing. So ideally, we do need a left hand side defender, left back, because it's just frustrating at times just what happens to down that wing. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So into the midfield then, Dylan. Possibly the case that last night wasn't the best night for our midfield. We had Raskin, quite wide left. We had Demande quite wide right, and Rothwell seemed quite isolated and just didn't really dictate the tempo, especially the way he did in the second half at Ibrox. What have you made of the midfield, and does that midfield need Asgard ASAP?
I'm so glad you asked me this, because I've been beating the drum. Nico Raskin is not an 8, and I'll honestly, I'll die in that hill. For me, Nico Raskin's best attribute on a football pitch is reading the game and winning the ball. Forget passing, forget heading, forget everything else. For me, that's what he's really, really, really good at, is winning the ball back. He reads the game brilliantly, wins the ball. Playing an 8, he can't read the game as well. Playing one half of the pitch, he can't read the game as well. So I think for me, the thing has, and what he's best at, and you're losing that, and it just becomes sort of another player for me, especially last night. I thought it was pretty poor. Him and Demande were really poor. I know they grew into the game, and I think once Rothwell went off, Raskin dropped back into the 6, the defensive mid position, and he looked much more comfortable. The ball's played in front of him. You can see the full pitch. He's quick enough to go nip the ball and go and intercept it, go and put pressure on. That's where he plays for me. I don't know if when Asgard's fit, does Rothwell get dropped and Nico plays in the certain defensive mid position, or does Rothwell get moved up one and play Diamandi's place and Nico drops in? I don't know what the manager's thoughts are on that, but ideally I would like to see. I mean, you seen it for Belgium when he came on. He was like the only man in midfield. He just left him there, and De Bruyne and everybody was forward, and he just broke up the play all the time, and he just gave it to the match winners. So for me, I think that he's playing him out of position. Now, listen, just because you play a 6 doesn't mean that you can't go and go and beyond and go and help and support the striker and stuff like that, especially in the SPL when you've got teams pinned in. But for a massive game like Panathinaikos, and listen, Rothwell, I thought the first match I brought was really, really good, but second match against when we were in Athens, I thought he went a bit missing. He was hiding a little bit behind the sort of players, wasn't making enough angles for me. So I think that's where the midfield lacked last night, just a wee bit of movement and belief. And hopefully that once Asgard is fit, I don't want to see Rothwell dropped, but for me, if you're asking me who I would play, it would probably be Raskin as the centre defensive mid in Asgard and Rothwell. Let them go and be the ball carriers and go and make things happen. And then you can obviously sub in Dio and Lyle Cameron and stuff like that. But I'm glad you kept me in that question, Colin, because I've been dying to get it off my chest.
It was meant to be. Good options in there. You mentioned Lyle Cameron, Asgard, Diomande, Rothwell, Raskin. We're really strong in there, but it's about finding the balance. Stephen, where are you at with the balance of the midfield? I mean, obviously, Raskin played predominantly in a double pivot last year. Now, it's slightly different in Russell Martin's system where the number 6 has been asked to do things in possession of the football that they possibly weren't being asked to do last year. And the rumours from pre-season we had heard was that he trusts Rothwell on the ball more than he trusts Raskin in that position. Do you go along with that? And what do you think, which 3 in midfield do you think gives us the best balance as things stand?
See, I quite like this question. The options we've now got, like they're like all really good players in my opinion. You know, it's a really good dilemma to have. I tend to agree with Dylan what he's saying there about Raskin. I feel like the way he's like a catalyst. The way he moves the game forward, he makes the tempo quicker when he's in that kind of deeper role. I think it's brilliant at that. But one thing I would say, I heard Billy Dodds interviewed a few weeks ago, Radio Scotland, and they were talking about Raskin. And they were the same, like, we want him up the pitch. We kept saying to him, you're too deep, you've got so much more to offer. So that's 2 kind of coaching staffs in a row. They've looked at him in training and thought, you can deliver more further up the pitch. So maybe it's just a case of, he's only had 2 games in this new position, so just let it play out, see where it goes.
There, though.
Of course.
See if you've got, like now we've got Asgard and Rothwell, do they offer more than Raskin now? That would be, obviously Billy Dodds never seen them. Never seen the players. Do you think maybe they offer more going forward and more of an attacking threat?
I mean, we've not seen Asgard. You expect so. What we've signed him.
Yeah.
The reason we signed him is supposed to be excellent. So yes, that makes sense. So maybe that will happen. Maybe he'll go in there. Rothwell, I agree. I thought first game, first leg, I thought it was man of the match. I thought it was excellent. More difficult last night. But maybe he'll interchange them, throughout the season. Some of the best teams I've seen at Ibrox, these players switch positions quite often, even through games. And it confuses the opposition. So maybe it's something he'll add in. But sorry, to answer your question, Colin, I would probably go Raskin. Yeah, I would probably go Raskin deeper, Rothwell more advanced with Asgard, and Dio maybe on the right. But like I say, it's obviously horses for courses. Depends who you're playing, where you're playing. But again, the midfield, as you've said, is stacked. Loads of options. And even Lyle Cameron, when he came on at the weekend against Middlesbrough, looked brilliant. Delighted for the guy because I really want him to succeed. We need Scottish players in that Rangers team, and I think he can get 10 goals for the middle of the park, even as a regular. But if he's starting a decent amount of games and coming on, he's an impact player. There's so much there to be positive about.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really strong in there, and I think, like you say, Lyle Cameron staked his claim at the weekend, and I was really disappointed in midfield last night because we're so strong in there and because of the options we have. I just felt like they could have really grasped the game, and also we are trying to be as positive as possible. But that doesn't mean we can't pick the holes in the performance which were evident. Lyle Cameron was one of the guys I thought, that kind of player, a ball carrier, because Raskin and Diomande were getting on the ball in decent areas, and they weren't penetrating. They weren't getting into the final third and creating as much as you'd like. Although eventually Raskin was involved in the equaliser, which we'll now come to, Ross. What did you make of the fact that, obviously we seem to talk about this on pretty much every podcast. It was obviously Kieran Dowell and Finlay Curtis that started wide. What did you make of that? What did you think before the game?
When I seen the team sheet, I was kind of frustrated. I would have given Gazima the start. But then when he came on, I understand why he does start with Dow. A lot of fans have a go at Dow. I hope he does well. I still don't think he's good enough for a Rangers jersey though. But I hope he does do well. If he doesn't, we get a good transfer for him. A lot of players can't survive Scottish football. He may be one of them. You know, he can be one of very frustrated. Curtis, I just feel like the Panathinaikos players are just targeting too much because they knew they didn't go inside up the first leg. You know, he was stuck in the one side, he couldn't move. It's a very frustrated young man as well last night.
Yeah. Coming back to yourself, Dylan, we have a new hero. I think JD Gassama has already paid back his fee. I think Sheffield Wednesday, we've absolutely stolen him off Sheffield Wednesday. I want to read you a quote from Max Aarons. He was doing the interviews this afternoon, and he was saying, if I was playing right back for the opposition and I see him, being Gassama, get ready to warm up at 60, 70 minutes with all his youth and enthusiasm and his pace and ability coming on the pitch, I really wouldn't want that. I mean, Russell Martin probably took quite a lot of heat for not starting Gassama, but I suppose at the end of the game, he's had him in reserve. He's taken him on at the perfect time, and he's had an instant impact.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to not to get too excited, but it's hard. It really is. But, I mean, Champions League qualifier, first game in front of Ibrox, he comes on, dives the ball sort of 30, 40 yards, bang, near post, finish, brilliant, 2-0. Comes on, we're 1-0 down. And I think it's his first touch. Well, I think it takes a touch before it's like fouled, and the referees play on. See what I really like about it is like the technique of it. So it comes to him sort of waist height, and if my mind serves me correct, he actually, when he hits the shot, he's got 2 feet off the ground. He actually jumps to get higher than the ball, get his knee over the ball, and get enough contact on it to divert it away from the goal. He obviously hits the post and goes in, but just that split second to react like that, I think he's going to be levels above everyone in this team. I think maybe I see him on par with like Igaman about where their ceiling can go. I think that the lad's going to be absolutely unplayable, especially in the Scottish League. He's going to be an absolute nightmare. I just hope that we don't like face Motherwell when you know it's like when you're playing hammer throws like that. They're just jumping into tackles, and you know what I mean. So I hope that he's looked after that way by the rest and stuff like that. But I think Russell Martin bringing him on, it was. I think it was surprising, but also he did say after it that when he played at Middlesbrough, he felt as if he was gassed up a wee bit or gassed out. I know that's excuse the pun, but but I said he sort of he wasn't himself, and I think that showed a wee bit as well. He wasn't really involved, didn't do much. Done okay, but nothing of note. And then he brings him on as an impact player. And listen, if he's going to be a sub and you bring him on and he scores a goal every time he comes on, he'll be the next Nat Novo. So
yeah,
I don't mind it.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if you guys noticed. I think it was about the 4th or 5th time I watched the move in the build-up to that goal. I certainly hadn't noticed his flick through the right back's legs to get the ball to Nico Raskin. So if you guys haven't seen that, maybe look at and watch it back, because it was a brilliant piece of skill. And like you say, the technique for the finish was absolutely fantastic. Steve, just before I come to you, seeing we've got quite a crowd watching tonight. If you're not subscribed yet, please make sure you do. We've got loads of content coming up on the Rangers Journal over the next few days. The boys will be back tomorrow at 12 for the Friday news, and make sure you like the video as well. And let me just take this opportunity as well to thank our sponsors, Off to the Match I Go, for their continued support of the channel. It's much appreciated. Stephen, just to throw a few stats at you, we were talking about this in the group chat earlier on. It was something that I kind of noticed being at Ibrox last Tuesday in the home leg, and I think it was a bit of a theme last night again. And it is a small sample, but maybe we can't read too much into it. But I want to give you some stats. So Danilo was the starting striker at Ibrox last Tuesday. He touched the ball 18 times in 74 minutes, and Dessers had 6 touches in the last 60 minutes. And then last night, Danilo had 24 touches in 82 minutes, and Dessers had 8 touches in the last 9 minutes. one of which should have ended up in the net, by the way. But it does seem like we're struggling to get our strikers involved.
Yeah, no, I mean those stats are pretty clear. I guess, as you said, it's a small sample. Last night's Panathinaikos away in 34-degree heat, or maybe even higher than that. It's a very difficult away game. And I think we'd all agreed Danilo put a real shift in, did in the first game. And again, I think if you took a straw poll amongst Rangers fans, probably 95% of them would rather have Danilo up front than Dessers. There's a guy in the group chat, Mitch, he's probably screaming at the phone right now, but sorry, Mitch.
Keep going.
Dessers isn't getting back in there, nah, no chance. I think Danilo, again, even with Danilo, you know, he's not played much football in the last 2 years, so he's obviously going to take time to really get up to speed. But that guy's a finisher, scored a great goal against Mothersbaugh at the weekend, brilliant poacher's finish. There's plenty there to see that, you know, he's got a lot more to come. And as the system develops, the new style of play develops, I'm sure there'll be more, you know, support for the midfield. We mentioned him before, Lil Cameron. I think he'd be a great kind of support in that, kind of getting up to support Danilo. But yeah, those stats don't really worry me at all. It'll come for him, and hopefully, you know, we're progressing through the tournament. A bit more signings are going to come up the top of the pitch as well. So yeah, I've no concerns about Danilo. Hopefully he stays fit, because again, the quality around about him. I need to go back to the Gass's goal. The technique was just beautiful, phenomenal finish. But I'm happy enough with Danilo despite the stats.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough. It is a small sample. It's just something we've noticed, and hopefully we can get the number 9 more involved when we, you know, have our starting wingers, Kasama starting. I mean, hopefully, like you say, incomings on the other side. On that note, leads me perfectly to Ross. Mikey Moore. Obviously, we're just waiting for that to be announced. We had thought it might be announced today, but presumably that will be announced tomorrow. There's been a lot of talk over the last 24, 36 hours about this boy. Again, I'm seeing quite a lot of negativity in terms of people putting it in the context of us stunting Finlay Curtis's development. I have to say, personally, I want to get this off my chest. Mikey Moore, having seen him, you know, just in a few games last season, starting for Spurs, is widely recognised as probably being one of the best young footballers in world football. I mean, this is not a prospect. This is somebody who has got extreme talent and somebody that Spurs have high hopes for. So I'm very much on board with it. Are you?
Yes, so I've always seen him a couple of times as well. Very, very decent player. It gets frustrating to go back to what other guys said in the pod. Bring loan players in without an option to buy. You know, that's the kind of player I want to bring in, have an option. I don't know, say 10, 12, 13 million. It's kind of player you'd be very stupid not to pay for it if they offer. But yeah, very, very look forward to seeing the Rangers start. I said I was hoping to see him in by now, but it'll be worth the wait, hopefully. Hopefully he'll be in maybe tomorrow for Saturday and he'll start, hopefully.
Yeah, Stephen.
Sorry, Ross, this guy's worth 30, 40 million, mate. You're talking about 12, 13 million, mate. You couldn't get his right leg for that. You know, this guy's literally 35, 40 million. He's just, we couldn't buy him. But for a season, if he's going to come in, he's going to get us however 10, 15 goal involvements, assists, worth it. And see the point about Finlay Curtis, like stunting his development. No 18-year-old and no 17-year-old plays 50 games in a season. Both of them can play 25, 30 games, you know, and develop pretty well at a high level, you know, competitive games in Scotland, possibly Champions League, Europa League games. Spurs are looking at Rangers and thinking, there's enough there for him to like get a decent, maybe 25, 30 games, and that's a good season, you know, at a big club in front of 50,000 fans every week or every other week. So yeah, I get it'd be great to sign something like that permanently, but if we get a really good year out of him, you never know, it could lead to another year. Depends how it goes.
Yeah. Come to yourself, Dylan. I mean, I think Stephen's hit the nail on the head there. I think some of the comments, you know, are saying as well. This is widely recognised as a generational talent, and he has been in the Spurs first team. You know, he played a lot of football for them in the Europa League last year, and you know, he was excellent. I mean, it's very easy to go and watch YouTube compilations of players, and you think they're going to be the next Zidane, but you know, he does look like he has all the tools to be a top attacker. I'm going to say winger, probably predominantly off the left, but I know he can play off the right and he can play through the middle as well. Are you excited about having him?
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. I mean, what a lot of people are forgetting is, and I see a lot of some comments say that remember what happened when Amad Diallo came. I think it's a completely different time and completely different signing. We signed Amad Diallo, so I think it's the same as Ramsey. It was quite a panic signing. It was in the hope that he could sort of carry us or take us sort of to the next level. Whereas this lad is apparently, and I've not seen a lot of them, but got all the qualities you would want in a young lad. Now we've got that many players coming in and out, hopefully this season, that you can't just go and buy 4 wingers. So you're going to have to work with loans. You're going to have to work with these bigger clubs. And listen, if you can get a Premier League and a top 6 Premier League teams sort of youngest, best talent, then absolutely. Is Spurs covering all his wages? Yes.
Yeah, yes.
So what's the downside in case Finlay Curtis doesn't get games? For me, that probably helps Finlay Curtis. It should push him. They should be competing for the position. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you seen it. I know it's not really the same, but you seen it with Andy Robertson and Trent, and they had that assist. They had assists, and they were going, "Who's I got an assist today? I got an assist today." So he's the same age as Finlay Curtis, roughly. So I expect there'll be a good partnership there, good camaraderie. So listen, there's absolutely no downside to it for me. The only downside is we can never afford the lad, but he's going to come here. He's going to play in a demanding side and a footballing side under Russell Martin in front of 50,000 fans and Europa Champions League games. It's a win-win for both sides, and people that don't see it that way, I don't think understand football.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like the boys have said, there's 0 chance that Rangers sign Mikey Moore on a permanent deal. This boy is headed to the top. Spurs have high hopes for him. I mean, I was reading some of the Spurs comments on Twitter and X, sorry, and some of them were wanting him in the team last season. So yeah, his average is 8 or 9 dribbles per game, and that is exactly what we need. We've had number 10s playing out wide far too often, especially last season. That can't go past players and open up defenses. And you know, with the addition of Gassama, Mikey Moore, hopefully others coming in, we're starting to build up options again in the front line, like we've got in midfield. Stephen, just come to yourself. We've also been linked with Ant-Man from Go Ahead Eagles as well for the right hand side, because we've obviously, with Mikey Moore, we've got Finlay Curtis, we've got Jaidi Gassama. The left hand side all of a sudden starts to look pretty healthy. I want to ask you about the right hand side, because obviously we had Cherney last year, who had a great season. He's within the price range from everything I gather, but we seem to be going for a younger profile. The question I want to ask you was, Ant-Man's on the right footer. Do you think it's important we get somebody in on the right wing who's a left footer just to bring a bit of balance to the team?
Possibly, mate. Yeah, I can see why they're looking at. I mean, Cortez played there on Saturday against Middlesbrough. He was down the right, wasn't he?
Yep.
But I'm quite old-fashioned. I like my right wingers to be right-footed, so I'm quite fine with that. But just mentioning Gas and the young boy Mikey Moore, both those guys have got end product. And I think that's what they're going for. It's not just, that ability to beat a man and go past them. I think they've looked at players who've really got assists in them. Ant-Man's got 17 assists last season. These guys are doing their due diligence, honestly. Thelwell and Purdy are really impressing me with the kind of calibre and the kind of deep dives. Are actually looking at players like so much, and they're making sure they're actually going to come in and deliver. So whatever they decide on the right wing, I'm sure it will be I would take Cherney back, to be honest. I mean, he had a really good season on a pretty poor Rangers team, so if the possibility was there, I wouldn't be against it, but I just don't think at his age and the contract to be looking for, it's no one that I can see happening. But yeah, if we get a left-footed or somebody can play that way, then great, but I'm quite, maybe one more on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross, just coming to yourself, again, covered a lot of the positives from the tie against Panathinaikos. Obviously, there have been issues, especially in the build-up. We're turning the ball over in quite dangerous areas. But then
the flip side of that is if we're launching the ball from defence and just giving them the ball back every single time, then it's going to be attack after attack after attack. And we've seen that in Europe over the last few years, despite how successful we've been. When we come up against top teams, they will eventually punish you if you keep giving them the ball. Do you think the risk reward is going to end up being worth it?
Yes and no. I know Martin wants to play out from the back. I find that really scary to think. Again, you're saying put up the park, you lose the ball, you can still easily lose the ball outside the 6-yard box. But yeah, I feel like, as you said, it'd be a good reward if you lose 1-2 goals. If we go up and make it more, all for it.
Yeah.
You know, new team, new formation. It'll take time, but as I said previous, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, Stephen, I think Stephen mentioned at the start where, as a fan base, we've been crying out for a manager to come in with a specific style of play, an evident style of play, and a structure for these guys because they need it. And we've finally got that, and we are going to have to show patience. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And we are demanding. We're an extremely demanding fan base, but if we can show patience, we also said that whilst he's installing this philosophy and style of play, he has to find a way to win games. So again, on that basis, if we're judging him so far, he's doing that. So I wonder if we can now look ahead to the weekend. We also kick off against Motherwell at 5:30 on Saturday evening. So just a wee plug for the Rangers Journal again. We'll have a pre-match show at 4:30, and the boys will be joining you afterwards at 7:30 to look back on hopefully our first 3 points of the season. Coming to yourself, Dylan, first of all, there could have been tougher fixtures with all due respect to Motherwell. However, they are a bit of an unknown quantity. They have a new manager who, by all accounts, has quite an aggressive European style of football where he presses and he wants to play football in the deck as well. So what are you expecting? Tough game.
I think that it could be a tight, cagey game. Now, ideally, I would want us to go and really put a marker down, chase them all over the park, tackle hard, play some really nice stuff. I think the second half at Middlesbrough is what I'm looking for when we brought the sort of main team on. I think that, and that's why I was so excited for Panathinaikos the other night. I thought, this looks as if it's starting to click now, and then it went backwards a little bit. But no, it's two teams who've got a new manager, learning and new players, learning a new style. So I think it might get a bit scrappy. But like I said, our quality should see us through it. If you've got sort of Gassman on the left, if he should start, does Asgard feature as well? I think we'll try and put it under pressure, but nothing like Panathinaikos did. Panathinaikos was a really technically solid team. You wouldn't think they had just started back pre-season there. They very rarely misplaced a pass, very rarely did they take a heavy touch. They knew where each other was. They were close in proximity. They played some good football. So that was a really tough test for us. And I think that if we start to look edgy against Motherwell will I think they'll be able to sense that and try and press us into problems. But listen, I think they couldn't get a better tie to lead up to it than Panathinaikos, so we should be absolutely fine in that regard. Like I say, that a quality should see us through the game.
Yeah, let's hope so. Stephen, Dylan's touching it there. Panathinaikos was probably the toughest draw we could have got. In fact, definitely was the toughest draw we could have got in that round of the Champions League qualifiers. Again, with all due respect, we should probably dominate the ball more on Saturday than we have done in either of the two legs against Panathinaikos. Where do you see the slip-ups coming early in the season? Do you see us slipping up domestically, or do you think this style is more suited to winning games domestic because of how dominant we should be, or we think we're going to be on the ball?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. The quality we've added should definitely see us through. Obviously, any away game in Scotland is a difficult away game. They always put you right under pressure, but ultimately, it's our attitude going into it that's going to be the key difference. There's been too many games in the last few years when we go into it and we lose the battle. You know, as long as you win the battle with a superior quality, you should win the game of football. That's just standard. And there's enough characters there now, like Sir Rothwell, Nasser at the back, you know, real leaders, I would hope. And other players kind of rediscovering their form, like Butland. Slip-ups, starting slow, having a poor start, you know, we don't want to see that. We need to be on it for the first minute. I don't want to kind of like just feeling their way into the game. I want them like on the front foot for the first minute, get an early goal, like really go out and try and dominate for the first second. Because if you score first, it makes a huge difference. Yeah, I don't know. I've just got a feeling Danilo's going to get a brace at the weekend. Can see maybe like a 3-1 maybe. Yeah, I'm quite confident. Like I say, there's so much talent there to really go out and dominate the games. But obviously, I'm like an idiot if we get beaten and slip up. But you need to believe, you know, we're Rangers after all, you know, and this is like a new era. So yeah, I think just start quickly, be fully focused, and no slow start. Like really, just on it for the first minute. Sorry, can I just come back to Blue Jay? Blue Jay said there that Seema was available for Brighton. I thought he was away to Norwich. So if he's still out there, that's something I would definitely look at. Cracking player.
Yeah, he was a cracking loan player for us. I think we'd certainly be interested if he was available at a decent price. Before we come to Mitch's question there about Fernandes at the back, I wanted to touch on the striker role because you've mentioned Danilo there, and you know I have felt sorry for him in a way. He put a cracking shift in the heat in Athens last night again. Obviously, Dessers came on and he got the chance, which obviously he didn't put away. It wasn't an easy chance, but you know you would expect a number 9 to bury that. This Iggerman knock, and I'm saying knock because I am a bit suspicious about it now, because he looked so sharp in that first leg at Ibrox against Panathinaikos. And then all of a sudden he had this knock, which Russell Martin said post-match Middlesbrough shouldn't keep him out of the game last night in Athens. Now, he didn't even travel along with Asgard. Where are you, Ross, in terms of Iggerman? Would he be the number 9 for you if he's fit and ready to go on Saturday? Or do you think there's more to this knock and perhaps interest and bids incoming?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think he's a goner. If he was a goner, he would still travel with the team. I just feel like he's not a number 9 to start with, but I feel like, as I said, they're a bit in for him, but money talks. You know, I don't know what Rangers want for him, but what do you guys think? What, 10, 12 million?
I think you're looking certainly north of 15 million, up to 20 million, I think, for us to part ways. He's got a 4-year deal.
Yep.
I think before I pass it over to the boys to get their thoughts on the number 9 position on Iggerman, I think if Iggerman's going to leave, the sooner it happens, the better, because we definitely need to have a settled striker, someone who's firing. Dylan, coming to yourself, Stephen's predicting a Danilo brace at the weekend, which we'd all welcome. Do you think he'll keep the shirt for Saturday, or do you think Dessers or Iggerman might be in with a shout?
Iggerman's a strange one. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Colin. I don't know why or how he's missing. I heard I've done a lot of driving the past few days, so I was listening to the Super Scoreboard, and I've heard that somebody say that he left Ibrox with shoot up raging after the Panathinaikos game, and then never played the Middlesbrough game, refused to sign an autograph and stuff like that. And it comes across as, I didn't think he's that type of lad. Now, listen, that's just a guy that's on the phone, so I don't know what to take from it. It could be away, but for me, when he came on against Panathinaikos, he led to the second goal. He dropped in, sort of sucked the man in, laid it into the midfield, and then he switched it, and we went and Kasama scored from it. So I thought his touches and that were brilliant. I think that Danilo plays on Saturday though, just because I think he deserves it. So he scored sort of 5 goals or something in pre-season. You don't. It was the same argument when Dessers was scoring goals. You don't drop him because he's scoring goals. I know he's not scored against Panathinaikos, but for me that was partly the team's fault as well as his own. Not enough movement, but there was not enough service to him either. So I think that Danilo deserves it. The header he saw against Middlesbrough was outstanding. I don't know how he got it in from that angle. So and then when you look at the goal last night, it was last night? Yeah, last night as well. Raskin sort of tried to square it to him. he's like a fox in the box. He sniffs it out, and then he hit the shot and it came off the defender and fell to Gassama. So he had a pop in the first game as well, which was blocked. It was probably going in. So I think he sort of finds himself in the box at the right moments and the right time. Whereas Dessers lacks that. And I think if you give Danilo the chance last night, he finishes Dessers. The argument is, does he get into that position? Probably not, because he's not that type of player to run in beyond. He's more come to feet. And I think that sort of hindered us last night a wee bit because there was no players around about him. But for me, he starts calling on Saturday.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, Dylan. I think I did feel sorry for him. He put a shift in again, but the lack of service was very evident. Stephen, I'm gonna assume that based on your Danilo brace at the weekend, that you're confident Danilo will start and that he should start. So I'll bypass that one. But Iggerman, where are you at with Iggerman, and what do you think's going on there?
It's strange. Like what Dylan said, there, these kind of rumours are, it's fair enough if he's going to leave, but why chuck the toys at the pram? It's not a good look for like prospective buyers or whoever else. It's like just do your absolute best until you're sold. You're at a huge club playing on a big stage. Like just go out and really, like he did in the first leg. Like Dylan said against Panathinaikos, brilliant touch to help assist with the goal. So he's clearly got the talent. We've all seen it. His goals last season over the road. Fantastic player, but maybe that's just starting to see maybe his attitude isn't the best. I hope that's not the case. But if he is chucking the toys at the pram, it's a bad sign for him. He's only got another maybe month at Ibrox. Just absolutely give your all in that time, make a contribution, and then wish him all the best with a decent transfer fee. But if his attitude was right, I would be fine with him starting on Saturday. But as it is, definitely Danilo.
Yeah, I agree. Dylan, just before, can you bring up Mitch's question there about Fernandes? And we'll ask Ross.
I think it was just, would you start him at the weekend because the shift that the other two's put in, and if so, who would it be over?
Yeah, Ross, what do you reckon? Would you replace Suter or Gia?
I would dress Suter. I just feel like last night he looked a wee bit laggy, but I don't know, maybe the heat. But I think the kind of height helps us as well. But I would go as far as bringing Tav in the centre back with him. I personally prefer Tav centre back than right back. Everyone has their own different opinions, but I just feel like Tav centre back as well. The team was more settled. The captain in the middle screaming out towards the middle of the park. But yeah, I would start him. I would give him maybe 70 minutes if needed.
You'll be getting in the comments now. You'll be getting in the comments now for putting Tav in a half, but it's definitely an option. It's definitely an option.
We all have opinions,
We've all got our opinions, and strong ones of that. No, you're quite right.
I'm not a Tav hater. He does frustrate me, but I'm not a Tav hater.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Stephen, Ross has made a good point there about Max Aaron's natural position being the right hand side. There's also been talk today about this Monaco left back that we've been linked with. But Jeff did come on last night when we went to a back five, over the last 10, 12 minutes, I think it was. And he looked pretty sharp. Would you consider starting him at the weekend just to bring a bit more balance to the back four?
I would, yeah. Obviously, we all want to play a natural left-sided player at left back. But then if Aarons goes to right back, where does Tav play? I'm not against Tav playing centre back, by the way, but I prefer him on a 3. I think he's much better than 3 centre backs. To Mitch's question, Fernandes, no, I wouldn't bring him in. Sorry, Mitch. I would keep Suter and Nasser. That's the partnership. They need to keep playing together. The professional football players, it was a tough night last night, but so what? They play for Rangers, it's 3 days recovery. They'll be fine for Saturday. It's a later kick-off. I would keep that for as long as possible. I mean, mix it up in the League Cup or whatever. But for now, these are important games that we need to win. Keep that centre-back pairing. But yeah, I expect Tav to start because he's a skipper. But if it was Aarons at right back, Yefty at left back, and somebody else takes up the armband, I wouldn't be against that either because there's enough strength there to win us the game. And it might be a bit of a bold move for Martin to say, like, Tav's not going to play, as regularly. So Aarons is class. I think we all like Aarons, but prefer him at right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Again, Max Aarons was quoted as saying, coming into this team and taking in what the manager wants, it's a lot of information in 5 weeks.
From the experience I have now, I know when there's a new style of play, it can take 4 or 5 games, sometimes even more, to really settle in. So yeah, I think we're all pretty impressed with Max Ains' ability, and he's maybe not so used to playing this left back role, and certainly inverting. It's huge demands of fullbacks that not all of them have been asked to do that. Although it's becoming more of a common feature in modern day football. Dylan, just to cover off Mitch's question there about Fernandes, I certainly agree with the boys. I wouldn't be altering the Suter Gia partnership. I think we have to start kind of building it. Are you of the same opinion?
I wouldn't mind if Fernandes started. I think he's good enough to go start away to Motherwell. When you think about it, I don't know what you're saying. When you want to build a partnership, I wouldn't be against it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying like I would definitely do it either, though. But I just wouldn't be against it if it was to happen. I wouldn't be too upset. I think we're playing Tuesday again. It's another massive game against Champions League opposition. So do you want Suter going 30-degree heat, then full night on Saturday, then back to Tuesday? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I wouldn't be against it if it did start. I think you maybe see a few changes as well because of that came so quick, that Champions League game, because we are still in sort of like the pre-season, if that makes sense. Just obviously we're not started the league yet, but they're not match sharp yet. They're not up to full fitness yet. So I think you maybe see a couple of changes. And if it was Fernandes for Suter, then I wouldn't be against it, mate.
Yeah, you've made some really interesting points there, because obviously as supporters we're bad at just looking at the next game. Stephen, managers Russell Martin will, I'm sure, not just be looking to the Motherwell game. He will be planning ahead to what Tuesday night looks like at Ibrox against Victoria Pilsen, and then obviously the weekend after that. So do you think we might see a bit of, I don't mean rotation in terms of weakening the team, but do you think we might see some changes, like Dylan said, just to freshen things up, especially after the heat that they played in last night?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's what we've got a big squad for. I mean, our squad's too big just now. We're waiting on a few going out the door. But yeah, I expect, I'd love to see Lil Cameron get a start at the weekend. Bring him in, extra legs, that drive. Maybe give Curtis a break. I'm not saying to drop Curtis, but I'm saying you need to use the 18-year-olds like in the appropriate way. Maybe he'll start as well. But yeah, I kind of expect that. That's common sense. Definitely mix it up. There's enough there. The guys who kind of came on at the weekend there in the Motherwell's game, maybe start them and then change up second half. Hopefully, Motherwell's not going to be like a 1-0, like really tight affair right up to the last minute. We can go and hopefully win the game pretty early on, and then we can change it, because obviously Tuesday night it's great. The first legs at Ibrox, I'm quite happy with that. The no away goals rules really changed things for me in Europe, so no travel for that. And then obviously on to Dundee the following Saturday. So yeah, the games are coming thick and fast, but we've enough through our squad to really go out there and win these games.
Yeah, we're going to need the squad, because, like you say, the games are coming thick and fast, and it's exciting. It really is. I can't believe it's the end of July and we're finally 2 days away from the league opener. Ross, wonder if you could maybe just roughly, quickly give me your starting 11 for Saturday.
I'd go Butland, Aarons, Tav, Fernandes, Jeffrey, Raskin as a 6. So it's Dylan and myself prefer.
Yep.
I'd go Cameron, Diamondi. I would start Curtis on the left, Danilo through the middle, and Gasman on the right.
There you go. So plenty, you'd have a lot of fresh legs in that team. That's really interesting. Dylan, same question for yourself.
I think, is this a team I think could go where I want?
What would you do?
Butland, Aarons, Gia, Fernandes, Jeffrey, Raskin, Cameron, and Rothwell. Gassama, Danilo, Cortez.
There you go. And Stephen finishes off.
Very similar to Dylan's, except I'd keep Suter instead of Fernandes at the back, and probably instead of Cortez, hopefully Asgard if he's fit. But yeah, very similar to Dylan. Great minds, mate. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating for me, just out of the three you mentioned there, your teams, Jeffrey seems to be coming through, quite clearly as a left back to try and bring a bit of more balance to the left back area. He did look sharp when he came on, like I mentioned earlier on, and that would certainly bring a bit more balance with his left foot. Because, like you mentioned earlier on, a couple of passing angles on the left-hand side of the pitch. I think you mentioned it, Dylan. It has looked awkward at times.
Yeah, can I just come in there? I think that the reason he doesn't get played is because he doesn't come in the pitch enough. He's more of a sort of fullback. And I think, see if Yilmaz could stay fit, because Yilmaz loves to come inside the park. I think he would be his ideal, Russell Martin's ideal player, but he's just not fit enough. He's just need a chocolate, and I think that's the sort of the reason why we're looking to offload him. I think he's been told that he's just not going to cut it. Do you know what I mean? Player-wise, I think if you get a fully fit Yilmaz, I think he's a decent player. And like I say, he likes to sort of shape up the line and come inside into the pitch and open things up. So and that's essentially what Russell Martin's looking for. But me a chocolate.
How much did Mitch pay you to say that about Ridvan? Just before we finish off, then, guys, really enjoyed hearing your thoughts tonight. Ross, any final thoughts ahead of the league opener this Saturday?
Just hope the fans get behind for the first whistle. I've been on Wednesday. It might be a very slow start, but keep with the manager. We'll get there. It'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, yourself, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm feeling great, mate. I really am. I'm as well as I felt going into a season in a long time. You know, there's so much like improvements throughout the whole club now with the new ownership. It's a really exciting time. Plenty of quality in the squad. I think it's going to be a really interesting season. Hopefully an excellent season. And just thank you for everybody for taking part in it. Your comments, it's appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dylan, how are you feeling ahead of the start of the season?
Excited. Really excited to see how the players how they cope with it and how, when they start to jail and how they start to break teams down, etc. And I think that taking sort of maximum points into the Old Firm games is imperative. So we really need to hopefully get a good start on Saturday. Just well done tonight, boys that are on the pod. Thanks for coming on, mate, and thanks to everybody in the chat. Your comments, it makes it much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, big thank you to the three of you. Really enjoyed, like I said, hearing your thoughts, and plenty positives in there despite the scary moments, and hopefully we continue to build and get better. But we can certainly see the early signs of what Russell Martin and his staff are trying to implement with Rangers. So big thank you to everybody who's watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said before, plenty of content coming up on this channel over the next few days. Back at 12 noon tomorrow for the Rangers news, and then you've got your pre-match at 4:30 and post-match at 7:30 on Saturday. So keep an eye out on the socials as well. There'll be plenty of content. Big thank you to you all for watching, and remember, every night is the Rangers Journal night.